Hi, year 5 and 6. I hope you all had a good weekend and you're feeling ready for this week's home learning. This week in English, we're going to continue with the story Can You See Me? To start with, pause the video and write a list of 5 things that you remember from chapter 1 of the story. Today we're going to read chapter 2 and answer a few comprehension questions about the text. It hurts. The words squeeze themselves out through Tally's gritted teeth. I want to take it off now. If you help me, we can get this done really quickly. Mum looks up from her position on the floor. Then we can treat ourselves to a piece of chocolate as a reward. What do you think? Tally's arms stay resolutely folded across her chest. She's not stupid, and she knows as well as Mum does that there is nothing quick about this process. The rest of her new school uniform is draped across the end of her bed. They still have to try on her skirt and jumper and the shoes that Mum ended up buying without her, because, as Tally overheard her saying to Dad, she didn't have the energy to deal with a shoe shop meltdown as well as everything else. Not that it would have made any difference if Tally had been with her to try on the shoes. They still hurt, no matter what. The only shoes that don't make her feet feel trapped and painful are her comfortable old trainers, and, according to Nell, Kingswood Academy doesn't include filthy, disgusting trainers in their uniform policy. It was totally Nell's own fault that one of those so-called disgusting trainers ended up bouncing off her head. And Tally still thinks that having her iPad taken away for the evening was an unfair and disproportionate punishment. I wonder if you can just move your arms a little bit. I can't. They're stuck. Mum laughs gently. Well, fortunately for you, I happen to have some magic unsticking potion right here. She dabs a finger onto Tally's arm. There. You should be free to move now. Nope. Tally shakes her head. There's no such thing as anti-sticking potion, and my arms are still stuck. There's nothing I can do about it. You're doing so well, soothes Mum, but Tally can hear the strain in her voice. A couple more minutes and we'll be done. Just need to do up the buttons and check that it fits. Tally can feel the stiff fabric against her skin and resists the urge to roar at Mum. It's scratchy and it's making her feel too hot. She cannot imagine, for even 1 second, how anyone can expect her to wear something so inflexible and rigid, nor why she would ever need to. She's starting year 7, not going into battle, unless there's something that they aren't telling her, which wouldn't be surprising, because Tally suspects that there's quite a lot of things that her mum and dad talk about when she isn't around to hear them, like what they're going to do about her. She feels like that she is the perpetual problem of Tally. Outside the bedroom window, the sky is growing dark. Unlike the first day of summer, the last day of the holidays is not crammed with potential. It does not taste of ice cream or smell of cut grass and sunshine. If the first day of summer is all about hope, then the last day is filled with gloom, and it knows it. The rain lashes down against the glass, and, if she peers hard enough through the eye holes of the mask that she is wearing, she can see her own reflection gazing back at her. The raindrops on the outside of the window mimicking the tears that are trickling silently down her cheeks. She sniffs and lifts up her hands to pull the tiger mask down a bit further. She doesn't want to cry, but it's not like she's chosen the tears. But moving her arms was a mistake. Mum whips into action, pulling the shirt tight and working the buttons into their holes. The fabric tightens around Tally's neck, and for one horrific moment she thinks she's forgotten how to drag air into her lungs. The chair clatters backwards as she yanks away from Mum's hands. Tally! Mum stands up, her face scrunched and red. Your shirt! She unfurls her fingers, and there in the palm is a pile of the buttons. The rest of the shirt lies in a crumpled heap on the floor, next to its equally crumpled owner. I told you that it hurt me. Tally's head is pushed between her knees and her voice is muffled. I told you. Mum takes a long breath and sinks down next to Tally. Close but not touching. I know you did, and I should have listened, she said quietly. We're done with trying on uniform for today. It's over. I don't want to wear it tomorrow. It's horrible, and it hurts me, and I won't be able to walk or do lessons, or eat any food, or even breathe if I'm wearing it. Tally hunches closer to her knees, feeling the cool rubber of the mask pressing against her face. I know. Sometimes Mum hasn't got a solution. Tally understands that. Sometimes the only thing that Mum can do is to know. I can fix the buttons, Mum said now, quietly. I don't care about the stupid buttons. It'll be easier in the morning. It won't, but sometimes when Tally is particularly tired, it's simpler to pretend. I'm sorry for being such a problem, she whispers, the words so quiet that they barely escape through the mouth of the mask, but Mum hears anyway. Oh, Tally, she says, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. You are my glorious, fierce, fabulous girl, and I love you to the ends of the earth. Tally looks up at Mum, her eyes shining inside the mask. Wouldn't you change me if you could? Mum smiles and gently shakes her head. I wouldn't dream of changing a single thing about you. You are absolutely perfect, exactly the way you are. Tally pauses, scrutinising Mum's face, checking to make sure there's not even a flicker of doubt, because sometimes Tally thinks that if she was her mum, she might want to swap her for a different daughter. Do you promise? I promise, Mum smiles. Would you like a hug now? Tally nods. Mum shuffles closer and stretches her arms around Tally's shoulders, and they sit quietly for a while until the sound of the front door slamming disturbs the peace. That'll be now, says Mum, pushing herself off the floor and putting the buttons down on the bed. Shall we go down to the kitchen and get a snack? Maybe some chocolate, as it's the last day of holidays? Starting tomorrow, there'll be no more going to the park with Mum, or watching films with Nell in the middle of the week. Chocolate might just make that feel a tiny bit better. But instead, she shakes her head from side to side and growls softly. Tigers don't eat chocolate. They're carnivores, and so they mostly eat meat, and they hunt their prey. But you can't hunt a bar of chocolate, can you? There's a pause, and it is obvious that inside the mask there is some serious thinking going on. Unless maybe you attached it to some string to the chocolate and dragged it around the garden, and then I could stalk after it, pounce when the chocolate is least expecting it. Mum makes a snorting sound that sounds suspiciously like a snigger, but that ends up as a cough. It sounds like tigers aren't a big fan of chocolate. How about a chunk of antelope? I'm fairly sure tigers like those. Tally stands up and pulls off the mask. I think that actually, she says, stepping over the discarded school shirt, actually, some chocolate will be absolutely fine. What impressions do you get of Tally in this chapter? How would you describe Tally? Did your impression of Tally change towards the end of the chapter? How do you think Tally's family feel about the way that she acts? Remember to email through one piece of your English and of your maths learning from the week. We look forward to seeing how you get on.